Hey guys, Hannah here from Reality Awareness. Let me know if this is your first time to my live stream. I was just walking down the beach and I was just noticing how brown my hair looks again. Ah! Get me black hair again. Morning. Am I going black or am I going something else? Because there's a reason why. Actually, I've waited extra long to get my hair done again. Who can guess why? Hey guys, say hi when you join live. I'm just walking down to the beach and I was like, I'm gonna start my live stream now. Look how light my hair looks. I've got a lot to share this morning. There feels like there's a big collective thread. I had like 3 clients message me this morning going, I couldn't sleep last night, there's all this anxiety and stuff, and I'm like, yep, there's a collective thread going on. Hey Ashley, so I want to share about what's going on collectively, and I'm also going to share in a way of what's been going on for me personally. You might have seen that I had to put my cat down yesterday, or correction, I chose to put him down yesterday. We never have to do anything. It's always a choice that we make whether we do anything in life. We never have to do anything. It is always a choice. It always comes back to choice. Even when it doesn't feel like you've got a choice, actually you do. Sorry, I was just hearing something weird in the trees. Whatever that was, I don't know. So let me know how you guys are feeling. Let me know if you guys could sleep last night, because I could, but there were several of my clients that couldn't. And I think if I hadn't been crying so much, I probably couldn't sleep either. All right, I'm just gonna not knock the tripod as I go up these stairs. So I'm really curious what's been going on for you guys too, because it feels like there's, as I've said, and I think it was on a couple of Tuesday Tarot posts actually, there's a big collective thread going on. Do you want to see where I'm walking? This is like my beach, my favorite path to the beach. And it's a beautiful day before the wind starts coming back in. I think it's Saturday, it's supposed to start getting super windy again. So decided to come down here and live stream from this beautiful place. I can hear a dog behind me. Look out! Well, I should be going surfing. What am I live streaming for? I should be surfing. Check out those little waves. How beautiful is it? Goodness me. What did I bring the camera down for? I should be bringing my surfboard down. Right? So pretty. It's hardly a breath of wind. Yes, it was, I'd say a big choice. Wasn't. It was actually bigger than I realized it was going to be, and I had a feeling that that would be the case. So let me get set up and present with you guys, hey? So I got a lot I want to share about being a single mum. And I'm going to take my jumper off already because I thought that, I came down, it's like, it's cold here, so it's autumn, so it's cold in the morning, and then it's warm during the day, so make sure my boobs are not out. Live streaming with my boobs out, that wouldn't be really good. Well, I think some people would think it is, but I would not think it is, actually. Alright, this looks pretty good here, guys. Awesome. Hi. Okay. So if my eyes are a little bit puffy, it's because I've been bawling my fucking eyes out. And not just about my cat. I think it was almost like the trigger that I needed to let more out. And this is why I'm live streaming what I actually want to talk about with you guys, yeah? So on a collective level, I know, how beautiful is it? It's so amazing. If it gets too windy, I trust you will let me know. All right, let me share this and I shall be super present with you guys. Oh, that sun's nice and warm on my back. Yeah, it's sad about my kitty. It is and it isn't. Like, and it's so weird. Like, I probably think I'm like a harsh bitch for saying that. In a way that I think I felt a lot of anxiety yesterday afternoon, or a lot of anger, because I knew that was coming at 5 o'clock, and I didn't want to do it, you know. And I've had another cat before that I had to put down, and I even said to my friend, I said it felt easy to put Aslan down for some reason, and I didn't really know what that was about. And you know, like making the choice to euthanize, you know, anything, let alone an animal, is, you know, a really big decision. Definitely not easy at all. But working with animals for like however long, like I've worked in a pet shop since I was 15, so you know, working with animals was yeah, it's kind of just what you get used to, I guess, in a sense that, you know, and as a healer, dealing with death is part of the rebirth cycle. And how is that, you know, I don't know if you guys saw like on my story, so one more place to share this here. On my story, I actually put it in there that like I pulled a card, like literally after I buried him, I pulled a card on my phone out of the Druid pack, and I hadn't pulled that card before, and it was all about reincarnation. And it was like, you know, if you think something has just died or you've just lost something, it's actually not. And I'm like, what? I'm like, oh my god. And literally like went to Bunnings, so like it's like the garden warehouse sort of thing. If you guys are not in Australia, don't know what Bunnings is. And yeah, and like the receipt, like I was just kind of in a fluster because this is even hard to talk about, because Adair and I were walking around and I'm like, I don't want to be here. I don't want to be doing this. I don't want to be buying a fucking like memorial pot and plant and shit. Like I don't want to be doing this. I don't want to be putting him down. And it was really fucking hard. And then anyway, got to the, you know, the cash register thing, and the receipt number was like, well, like on the receipt it was like 2:22 p.m. and 44 seconds or some shit, and I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Really? Like, of course, right? But oh my god. Yeah, she was like a child. And that's the thing, like, hey guys, I see you joining live. Lovely to have you here with me on this beautiful day. How brown does my hair look? Tomorrow I'm getting my hair done. It's usually longer than like I've left it longer than what I usually do to get the black put back in, but there's a reason why I had to wait extra. So if you want to see what's really going on, like, yes, I had a loss yesterday with my dear panda bear, but this weekend, if you want to see what's really going on as well in my life, you want to really watch my stories on Facebook, Instagram, Messenger, wherever you watch my stories, you want to check that out, because there is something going on behind the scenes here, and there's a reason why I haven't done my hair as fast as I had to leave it longer than usual. Thanks guys. Yeah, it's and I guess I really want to talk about it. I wasn't kind of planning to talk about Panda and stuff, but what I realized in my crying, like why it hit me so much, because and it's weird, and I kind of knew, and I was like, it doesn't feel right to put him down, like it didn't feel right to put him down, and I'm like, it doesn't usually feel like this, right? So of course I'm questioning everything, but he hadn't eaten for 3 days, and like for him that's a really big deal. I was like, oh no, it's time, like I just knew, sort of thing. And you know, as I was crying, of course that, you know, drops us into deeper cries, but I was like, why did Panda hit me? Why did Panda hit me so much? More than like any of my other animals, I guess. Like we've had rats, like if you guys know me, like for the past, you know, 10 years, or especially, you know, being on the coast and whatever, we had like a rat family. We had 15 rats at one point because we bred them, and And we had guinea pig, we had fish, like we had 2 cats, so we got 2 dogs, like just, you know, people thought it was pretty crazy. Oh, we had birds as well, that's right. Like, had whole menagerie, right? And, you know, as they've, you know, died off or flown off or whatever's happened to them over the years, like, you know, as we've gotten less and less animals, like for me, it's been a really big deal because as an empath, as a healer, I've always had animals, even as a kid. Like, you know, my mum, I don't know, did I get it from my mum or was it like, you know, I worked in a pet shop or was it both, right? And I think that the part of it for me was, you know, in this past 6 to 7 years especially, what I've learned with the animals is, yes, they feel a hole for me, right? And it's like, I guess I've realized that, but not at the depth that I've started to realize as they started to die. And even just like being a single mum, having to clean out like 15 rats, that was a lot of cleaning every second day because they just stunk so much otherwise. It was like rat cages, bird cages, the guinea pig, the fish, the dogs needed walking, the cats. It was just like, oh my god, it was never ending, right? And like, I love the animals, but fuck the cleaning up, oh my god. It's just like people would say to me working in a pet shop, like, oh, you got the best job ever. I'm like, yeah, you like cleaning up shit all the time because it's what you do, right? It's like, you know, anyway, you know, it is rewarding, but you know what I mean, right? And it was just like, you know, why did Panda hit me so hard yesterday? Because like, we've had him for 10 years. So one, for me, I feel, I guess, bad because I'm like, cats are supposed to live for 20 years, not 10, you know, like, and you know, him having lymphoma cancer and me realizing all that stuff, I was just like, you know, if you follow me since February, you know, I shared a lot about the food stuff and the lymphoma cancer and all of that jazz. So if you didn't hear about that stuff and you'd like to, please send me a message and I can send you the link for all those replays. And when I was delving into it last night, there was that, and the fact of how Panda came into our life. Like, we did not go looking for a cat, you know, we actually went to the pound, like to the animal shelter, to find a dog. And you know, and Adea was, you know, only 18 months old then, she was a toddler, and like walking around the pound, I was like, it didn't feel right to get a dog, an older dog that I didn't know, with my little toddler, right? It just didn't feel right. I was like, no, I think we need to get a puppy because of that reason. And anyway, so we just left it and we left. But as we left, we had to walk through the cattery, and like, it's, you know, middle of the day, it's summer, it's hot, you know, like all the cats are sound asleep, and we're walking through, and this one cat like sat up and he's like, meow, 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 and it was Panda. And I'm like, hi. Like, this is a bit weird. Like, they were all sound asleep, and as we started walking through, he literally like jumped up and started meowing at us, and we're like, okay. And you know, and I spoke to the lady, and she's like, I was like, oh, we might just think about it over the weekend and we'll come back. And she's like, cats like that don't really last that long here because they, you know, they want to come home. So anyway, we slept on it and went back the next day and got him. And you know, at that time of day, I was 18 months old, and they worked out, you know, how they do a rough estimate of the age, and he just happened to be 18 months old. So it was like this thing, you know, and so we've had him since the day I was 18 months old. So they were about the same age. But you know, that wasn't just why it hit me so much. It was that he was our first pet, I guess, together as me being a single mom. And you know, I've been a single mum with Adea since she was 3 months old. That is by choice, and everything, like I said on the very start of this live stream, you know, I was like, oh, I had to put Panda down, and then I corrected myself. I was like, I chose to put Panda down yesterday because everything in life is a choice, right? Becoming a single mum was a choice. And you know, and people, like, you know, when I've spoken about it in the past, they're like, oh, well, you chose this, you shouldn't complain about it. I'm like, I'm not fucking complaining about it. I know I chose this, right? And it was like my ex, a couple of weeks ago, fucking sent this text message and it pissed me right fucking off. He's like, oh, you're single and you will never be, you know, with a partner, and you will never, you know, the reason why you don't have any friends and why you don't have any family around you is because, I can't even remember what he fucking said, like something about you shut everyone out or something like that. Like, and I was like, no, mate, I don't fucking want like two-faced, inauthentic fucking bullshit in front of my face, and then you go behind my back and you say all this shit about me. I said, that's why I don't want fucking people around me. Like, I would rather have no friends, no family, around me than have inauthentic bullshit in my face when I can smell it a fucking mile off, and it's like the cause of confusion to an empath or anyone in that fucking situation, because you take on their energy, you say something, you're picking up their shit that they're not even fucking conscious of, you say it back to them, they fire up because they get triggered. I would not want that around me. Like, I don't want that shit around me, right? Like, and that's like my choice. Everything in my life is my choice. Does that make it easy? Fuck no, it doesn't make it easy, right? And I titled this live stream like, how do I cope being a single mum? And I wanted to come on and say, I don't fucking cope, actually. You know, like, I fucking bawl my eyes out, you know, and it's like, and then I saw someone's post the other day, I got so like triggered by it. Well, I did and I didn't, because I was like, well, that's not me. Like, she was talking about, it was like some other, I don't know, spiritual oracle reader or something, saying, you know, how people message her to then ask if she wants a reading, but then say they have to, like, she has to pay for it or something. And then, like, she was saying in her post about all this stuff like, oh, you know, like, sponsored by Centrelink and everything. And I'm like, and I got triggered, but I didn't. I'm like, yeah, I've been working my ass off for fucking years to get off Centrelink, and I just managed to do that in February. And I've been without child support and without Centrelink for fucking, what is it, nearly 3 months now? Or more or something? I don't know, since February or whatever. And I just, like, you know, and I was a bit pissed off, because I'm just like, man, you have no idea what people's situations are like, you know? Like, I personally never wanted to be on Centrelink. I didn't like it. I hated it. But at the same time, without it, and I'm very fucking grateful for it, because I would not be where I am now. And it's like, you know, we can bag shit out, or we can turn it around and look at where it's pointing us to go and where the drive and direction is to go. And this is the thing where I'd get so pissed off about with my family or my friends or my exes for particular. Like my one ex that fucking sent me that message the other day. Oh, I should have bought tissues, because I'm still inner crying about Panda and all of this that meant so much, and for whatever reason I'm needing to share it with you guys. And it's like, you know, like, I chose to be a single mum, you know, like when I was pregnant with my daughter, I was in a domestic violence relationship, I was going through court, like, and that is all by choice. I chose to keep my daughter, and then I chose to go through the court system. I chose to get a domestic violence order. I chose all that. Does it make it easy? Fuck no, it doesn't make it easy, right? And I bawl my eyes out, you know, I talk about grief all the time, and I talk about how important it is, you know, like, you guys, it's like, how do I cope being a single mum? I fucking cry a lot, right? Recently, not so much as what I did in the early stages of having a daughter, like, you know, having a daughter when she was younger, you know, I feel like when she was younger, it was a lot fucking harder. Like, it was really hard. And the reason I wanted to share about this, like this, you know, how do I cope being a single mum live stream has been in my head since the weekend, because I had quite a lot of mums actually message me just saying, you know, that it's hard, they've got young kids, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, yeah, I feel like I need to talk about this, because I remember when Adea was little and I was exhausted 100% of the time. I was about to say 99.9% of the time. I'm like, I was exhausted 100% of the time. Like, it is exhausting having a child. Now, there's some like studies done or something that it takes 4 adults to raise 1 child. 4 adults, 1 child. No wonder. It's usually the other ratio around, right? These days, it's usually 1 adult to 4 kids, roughly. Like, do you know what I mean? No wonder we're so exhausted. No wonder we're like all this stuff, right? Yeah, it's all sacral womb stuff, exactly. Seems to come from everywhere. I hear, oh, my realness, thank you. Yeah, you understand. Sorry, I didn't see these. Well, I saw these comments and I kept talking. And you're at the same place. Yeah. Yeah, so it's like, you know, this stuff and like it. And yeah, thanks for bringing the sacral womb up, because I feel like, you know, like with what I'm creating in Rapid Ascension Awakening, we're in third eye. And you guys hear me talk about this all the time. Third eye. And then the sacral chakra, right on our belly. It's the same, right? It's the same thing. I can't see. It's the same, yeah? It's the same hand signal in light field yoga. Hand signal. The pose to the belly, yeah? Now, with this, we're seeing the truth, the third eye. We're seeing the past, present, and future. We're realizing that all realities are one. We're realizing that you know, everything is connected. We're realizing there actually is no time. We're realizing the truth about relationships. We're seeing the webs, we're seeing the dynamics, we're seeing the patterns, we're seeing all the truth of all the relationships, right? In the sacral chakra, that's intimately connected because they're both one in from the top and the bottom, yeah? Yep. Base in the sacral and the third eye in the crown. And the brain, our physical brain and our intestines look the same, yeah? Grief held in the sacral, in the intestines, in traditional Chinese medicine. And right now it feels like there's a massive collective clearing going on about this. And I know I spoke about this the other day, so just quickly, like that global live healing I did publicly the other week on Easter Saturday, I feel like we went, for you guys who followed it, when we were in like South Australia, and then it went down underneath the earth, and like there was like this channel that connected into like, what is it called, the Earth's axis. That felt like sacral chakra, to be honest. You know, I know there's different chakras around the world, but I feel like Australia is a sacral. I don't know. I need to check if that's even, I think, you know, but anyway, because I even teach the chakras differently. So anyway, so there's lots of big sacral chakra healing going on at the moment. And for me, with Panda and what that dropped into last night was how hard it's been and how much he was there. And you know, it's funny that, you know, like I say, I've been a single mum. I've had relationships, but I feel like I've been a single mum the whole time because I've never actually lived with another partner. Like I've always had my own place with a dayer. I've never actually moved in with a man. I've never had that. Do you know what I mean? I've never had that sort of support. I've never had that, what it feels like. And maybe that's why when I've been with men, I've also felt unsupported because I see all these other women and, you know, like, yes, this might be a judgment and you might be like, oh, she's being resentment, judgmental and blah, blah, blah. But I see it for myself. This is my own personal self, and this is where it's a real vulnerable share for you guys at the moment. I don't know why I'm sharing this. I think because I feel like I needed to be real, and I stopped being really real on live stream because it got thrown back in my face last year and got used against me and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, been dealing with this, but I feel like I need to be open again and share my heart and soul because that's what I do, and I feel like that's how I teach people best. Anyway, getting nervous sharing, can you tell? So it's like this space, hey Sarah. Yeah, so a lot of anxiety, a lot of shifting out, right? And this collective, like, I feel like energetically the collective is moving away from their family systems, from the lineage. I mean, like, how many of us have been doing the generational clearing? How many of us have been doing that? So it's like energetically the webs are literally separating, right? We're like going, like separating ourselves out of that collective web that is our family and is all the generational stuff. Now it's interesting. Thanks. Okay, thanks. I'll keep sharing the real me. I know this is my own thing and coming back into feeling safe in sharing because I feel like I've been too open and it's been thrown back in my face. But what I realized is that I didn't have the boundaries, or I didn't have my radar on, or whatever. So anyway, I've kind of learnt my lesson from that. So I feel like I can start to share again. Okay, so we're shifting and energetically separating, right? And of course that's going to cause grief. Now, it was so weird because with Panda, and as I was saying, like, I've always lived on my own with a dayer. I've never moved in with a man in the 10 years I've been a single mum. And I'm kind of glad about that in a way, because anyway, with Panda, whenever I've had men at my place, he would always bite them. He would always bite their legs. He would come up and like smooch and then he'd bite them. Like, it was just this thing, like, and like with everyone. And I'm like, okay, like all the men, right? So all the men, it sounds bad, but the men that I was with over the years. And then as I was grieving in the shower, I just had like the longest shower. I must have been in there for ages, just sitting at the bottom of the shower, just howling my eyes out, just going, why is this, like, well, just not even going, why is this hit me so much? It's just grieving it, right? And it came into this thing, like, because with that card that I pulled about him, you know, like when I got off the live stream, that was so, when I got off the live stream, when I buried him and I pulled this card out of the Druid deck that I've never, like on my phone, I don't know if you guys can see that, but I pulled this card that I haven't pulled out of the deck before, and it said the broad bean is associated with fertility and reincarnation. As it sprouts, it's a phallic symbol, and the bean, when it has formed, resembles an embryo. The ancients saw the plant as being in direct communication with the realm of the dead, with their spirits returning from the underworld through the hollow stems of the plant. Choosing this card may indicate that something which you thought was dead has come back into your life in a new form. A relationship you believe was over may suddenly be revived, or a project that was buried a long time ago may be bearing fruit in an unexpected way. And I was just like, holy shit, man, like literally, you know, because I've got lots of card decks on my phone, and you know how some people scroll Facebook? I'm like, I just pull a card, like, you know, that's my thing. I just pull a card from a deck whenever I'm just, you know, just a scrolling thing for me. And so I pulled that card literally as I came in from burying him, and it was just like, wow. It's like, wow, you know. And it was just weird because like I don't know, I feel like I'm gonna meet somebody soon, but there's a part of me that doesn't want to, but I also feel like I'm almost ready to. Like, I feel like I haven't been ready before because I've been wanting to, you know, build my business, and now it's at a certain point, and I'm like starting to gain this kind of stability in it, and you know, I've been working on healing the masculine, like, in myself. And Panda was a boy, and he represents the masculine, and it's almost like he came in, you know, with a daya, and it was just like, I don't know, it's pretty amazing. He's been my protector. Yes, he has. On point. Okay, I can relate to never living with a man and being a single mom. My daughter's 22. My cat bites men too. Isn't it amazing? You connect straight to our heart's empathetic bond. Yeah, thank you. Thanks, guys. Yes, you're ready to be loved wholeheartedly. Yeah, and that's where I think, like, I'm just coming into myself, like, more and more, and like learning to love myself. And we look at cats on a thing, and you know, like the old Hannah would have gone out and just bought an animal straight away to almost replace it, and I don't want to do that. Like, I don't want to fill a hole, and I don't even feel like it's a hole this time. Maybe I'm more conscious of it, or I don't know what it is, and maybe because I've had animals for so long, just not as much as I love them, not having them is like a break for me as well, in a way, because I've had them for so long. I'm sure we'll get something else eventually perhaps, but you know, at this moment it's just like, oh. And I just feel like I've been like consciously working on healing the masculine, you know, in so many ways, and even, you know, like building my business, and just, you know, like, you know, because that's what I was crying about too. Like, Panda's been there, and you know, even Jasmine and Wuchi, like, especially when Adea goes to New Zealand and I'm like by myself, because I have family there in Perth, but I rarely speak to them, less and less, especially in the past 2 years, because I was just, the more I keep building my business, it's like the more they fucking hate me. Like, it's just so weird, and like they'll probably watch this and get triggered and all that sort of shit. I'm more conscious and balanced now too. Yes, all that unconsciousness and all the shit that went on brought me to more consciousness, 100%. All the dark turns us towards the light, blah blah blah. So yeah, and I feel like I've been, you know, kind of working on that, working for that, working, you know, with that, blah blah blah. But it's like in this sense with, you know, my family, and I love them, you know, like I love them, but in the cries last night, like, you know, because of working, you know, I was realizing this masculine stuff, and I'm realizing, you know, what Panda was, and the male and the protector, and I've never been, you know, I've never lived with a man, I've never actually experienced that. I've never actually experienced being supported by a man, except my dad, and my dad's an alcoholic. Love him, but you know, it's kind of the reality as well, and that makes me sad too. But growing up, we kind of realize and come to reality about things, I guess. And you know, and this isn't a sad stop story, this is like my awakening to probably a conscious man, probably, I guess, actually. As much as I think that I don't want one or need one, or you know, that sort of thing, there's a part of me that's actually going, you know what, I think I do actually need someone who's conscious of their shit and is willing to work on it, because I really can't be in a relationship with someone who doesn't, or I choose not to be in a relationship with someone who doesn't own their shit, who doesn't work on their shit, because it gets thrown in my face and turned around and I am made to be the crazy one, when fucking no, you're not owning your shit. And I'm just not willing to fucking be around that, right? And, you know, and this is the thing, I got so angry when he said that the other week. I was just like, are you kidding me? I'm like, no, I'm like, this is all by choice. My life is by choice, right? I'm single by choice. I'm single, like I'm alone, single parenting by choice. I live on the other side of Australia by choice, away from my family. And for so long I was like, why am I here? Why am I doing this on my own? Why am I? And then I went and visited my family and I was like, fuck, that's why I'm here. I'm so glad I'm here, right? Because being here, being on my own, you know, raising a Daya is being able to, you know, have this space where we can have the life of freedom we want. I've been able to raise her through aware parenting without any other person in the household influencing that. Yes, she goes to her dad's. Yes, she goes and does all that. But I've been able to raise her the way that I want without all that karmic influence stuff or whatever. I don't know what it is, right? But the main thing that dropped in last night, okay, I'm getting to the core. For some reason I need to chat with you. So in the shower, in my, I don't know, must have been 20 to half an hour shower, 20 minutes, half an hour shower. You know, because realizing that Panda was this masculine in my life, you know, in a way, and he's been there since, you know, a day is 18 months, and just that whole scenario and what he meant, and I was like, you know, and it dropped me into being alone, you know, and I'm always said, you know, I'm happy to be on my own. I don't mind, like, I love my own space. I like being alone. But at the end of the day, I'm like, yeah, I am pretty alone. But it's not like, oh, I'm lonely, I want somebody. Like, it's not coming from that space, but it's like alone. And I've noticed it more in the past maybe 5 months, perhaps. Just like, and maybe it's because there's space in my life now. And this is coming into the feminine. Right? Because I haven't had a masculine in my life, because I haven't had a healthy role model masculine in my life, and because from a very young age I had to take care of my siblings. I was the oldest of 4 kids. I didn't want to even have kids ever because I had to look after my siblings when I was young. I had to, you know, bath them and all this sort of shit. And, you know, it's like being responsible from all the way back then. I've had to carry all this. So, you know, I've had to be the masculine out of balance. So it's kind of no surprise why I've attracted these unbalanced relationships, yeah, trying to bring me back into balance, right? Now with, and it's just so much wanting to come out. It's interesting, right? Because, and this is what I say to my clients, they're like, oh, I thought I worked on this, and I'm like, yeah, I could say that all the time, because at every level there's always layers. No matter how much work you do, there's still work to do, right? This is the contradictory world we live in, yeah? That even though we're doing healing work, there is no healing work to do. You are not broken. You know, it's like we are whole, but we're not whole. There's always work to do, but we're perfect. What is it? We're perfectly imperfect. We're imperfectly perfect. You know, like we live in a contradictory world, right? And when we can really wrap our head around that, we gain mastery over our stuff. In a sense, that we don't take it so personally. We don't like, oh, I'm fucked up, I'm wrong, I'm broken, nobody loves me, I'm all alone. Like, it steps out of that victim space into an empowered space of like, yeah, I've got all this stuff going on, but I'm good too. Right? Because when we can all own our stuff, that we all have stuff. Nobody's perfect, nobody's fixed, nobody's whole, nobody's nobody. When we have that perception of somebody and then they fall off the pedestal and we're like, that fucking person, right? Don't put anyone on a pedestal, guys, especially me. Bring me all the way back down to your level. Get me off your pedestal. Have nobody on a pedestal. That's like such a big reminder for me, even when I'm finding I'm putting someone, I'm like, like I consciously like bring them back down to my level in a way, right? And I know I don't like levels, blah, blah, but it helps me to go, they're all just like me. We're all in the same web. We're all in the same space, yeah? We've all got stuff. Even the Dalai Lama's got stuff, as Lois says. I'm like, yeah, everybody's got stuff because we're human. Where was I going with that? Oh, Can you tell I don't really want to talk about this core wounding stuff? What dropped into it? But that was important to say too, right? Okay. So in the shower, what dropped in? Oh, this is where I was going because of the layers, right? I'm like, I've worked on this particular thing. Well, I guess I've worked on this, but I haven't, right? And I've worked on, and I guess this is where the layer is, because if you guys have been following me for a while, you might have remembered when I wrote a really long blog post about when I was 14 or 15 and I ended up uppercutting my stepdad because he was like cornering me and this like all this shit, and ended up like just self-defense, just and then I fucking ran away and all this shit. But you know, and when I think about, I'm like, I've worked on this, and I'm like, oh, actually I don't know that I have. And it's so interesting because if I look at that particular incident, this one that I dropped into last night that I didn't realize I have worked on but I haven't, it's like, here's another layer, right? It was around the same age, and this is what dropped into last night around Panda going and him being the masculine in the past 10 years and not living with anyone, and you know, all this sort of thing. And what came to me about it was, sorry, I can feel my back's getting roasting. What dropped in, here's another distraction because I don't want to talk about it. Can you tell I'm just like you guys, right? It's hard, it's just not easy, right? But we face our stuff, okay? So in the tears, and I dropped in what it brought me back to. It must have been when I was 14 because I was in year 9. I was in year 9. And I remember getting interrogated by my grandmother and my mum. I don't know, I must have done something bad, obviously, and they're having a good old talk to me, right? And I remember this one comment that fucking stuck with me, and she said, look at you, look at the way, this is my grandmother, look at the way you're drinking, you're just like your father. And I was just like, well, what the fuck do you want me to say to that? I am a fucking, like, for whatever reason, that stuck to me. Maybe it's like all this thread of like, oh, there must be something wrong with me. Oh, my father's whatever, so I must be that. Or, you know, like I'm this bad person, or I'm this blah, 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 right? And then also what dropped in about, I guess, being alone. I guess maybe I was feeling the aloneness in a different way or something. And this is actually triggered by a phone call I had on Monday from my grandmother, actually. I think this is all kind of, you know, all part of it. And I was like, you know, with Panda being here, and I was like, man, I haven't had... I've chosen to live on the other side of Australia. I now see why, because I wouldn't have built my business like I had, like all this, like there's so many reasons why, and I'm grateful, right? But it's been hard. And, you know, dropped into this thing, and I was clearing the thread as I share with my clients, like clear the thread, right? Drain, 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 drain. He was like, well, if you didn't fucking kick me out of home when I was 14, maybe this wouldn't have fucking happened. Like, this is my process, right? I'm not speaking this to them. This is my own process in the shower last night. It was like, maybe if you didn't kick me out of the house when I was 14, maybe this wouldn't have fucking happened. Maybe you wouldn't have lost your fucking daughter and your granddaughter to the other side of Australia for the rest of the fucking life. Like, you know, it was just like in this thing of like, oh, well, what the fuck do you expect? You know, like, and that's when all these memories came back. And I was just like in the shower going, wow, I'd actually fucking forgotten about that. I'd actually forgotten that when I was in year 9, I got kicked out. Like, I don't know, I must have done something, obviously. Rebelling or not fucking doing as I was told. And I was too hard to handle. So I moved in with my dad's friend in Perth, like their family, and I was living with them, and they tried to straighten me out, and that didn't work either. And so then I spent the last semester of year 9 in Cairns with my dad. And so... and last night in the shower, this came back to me, and I'd forgotten about this. And I was like, well, this kind of makes sense. If I'm really dropping into the why have I been alone? Why have I, you know, like, why haven't I ever lived with a man? Why haven't I felt that support from a man? Why haven't I, you know, like they say it, but then their actions are totally different, right? And it's like, why haven't I ever felt that? Why haven't I, you know, like I was just processing all of this, right? And this is where it dropped to. That actually, well, when I was 14, which actually is a real pivotal point in a child's development at 14 years old, right? And it's like where we come into our own, yeah? So I've really had to come into my own. It was kicked out, as you know, it's not told it wasn't good enough. And then eventually, you know, I came back home. I remember doing 10, 11 and 12 at home, but I got a job in a pet shop. I fucking loved it. I was talking about the pet shop at the start of this live stream, right? I loved it to bits. But then when I finished year 12 and I was still working there, I was pretty much managing the shop. Like, they loved me and I was good at what I did, you know. And then, you know, and they sat down and had a talk with me again. So what are you doing with your life? Are you going to go to TAFE or uni? Because, you know, pretty much, they didn't say these words, but pretty much working in a pet shop isn't good enough, Hannah. And I was like, what the fuck? It's like, I didn't know what I wanted to do. And I was like, you know, ever since, you know, in high school, everyone's like, what do you want to do? They're like, I'm going to uni and I'm going to the UK to be a nanny and I'm doing this. And I'm like, I don't fucking know. I just want to drive around Australia. And lo and behold, I ended up driving across Australia. I didn't go around, but ended up on the Sunshine Coast, and here I've been ever since, right? And this is like, and this drops me into parenting. And when your kids don't know what they want to do, don't fucking force them to do something. And I know that, you know, whatever's parenting style is totally like none of my business, but I'm sharing from my own personal perspective. You know, like, especially if they're sensitive, especially if they're fucking tuned in and psychic, especially if they're really rebellious. They're a really strong leader. Do not knock that out of them. Do not tell them that there is something wrong with them. Do not tell them that their choices are not good enough and they need to do something else. Because they might end up on the other side of the country and you never fucking see them again. Well, sorry, that's my stuff. I'm showing my hand. I am hurt, and I'm putting my hand up to that. I am hurt from my family not being supportive still to this day. You know, like telling my fucking grandmother, like when I said, she's like, why haven't you come over, basically? And I was like, because they've turned my business to a company and it's been really stressful and learning these structures, and I took myself off Centrelink and not getting child support anymore. So I'm just like, whoa, huge adjustment after like 10 years of being in this structure. Now I'm creating a whole new one and I'm birthing a whole new one, and I'm doing pretty fucking well at it, actually. Thank you very much. And it was just like, she's like, oh, what's your company name? And I'm like, well, Reality Awareness. And I was just like, oh, I better get off the fucking phone now. And I was just like, you know, everything I've done is not good enough. And it's not like that I need their approval or something, but just like anything but a negative fucking statement or reaction would be fucking nice once in a while, you know? It's like they wonder why I don't fucking call them anymore. It's like, hello, I just get negativity, so why would I call that? You know, it's just like, anyway. So I know I'm showing my hand. I'm hurt, probably because Panda going is compiling that, but it's obviously brought up this deeper stuff, right? It's brought up this, and this is where I always say to people, if you can't cry about something, watch a sad movie or listen to sad music to drop into the cries. And or if you're crying about something, there's usually a deeper thread that's ready to come up, and this helps you to go underneath it, right? And if you look at what I've just shared here, I'm like, Panda was a male. He's been a support in my life. You know, male support. Masculine energy is support. Masculine holds you. Masculine is support, it's safety, it's security, it's structure. You know, it's the walls of the house. You know, I always say that. And I personally have been working on healing my masculine self because of what happened at the end of last year and the fallout that I had with the guy I was dating online, all that sort of shit. If you guys have been following me, you know exactly what I'm talking about. That was a big wake-up call for me, and I was like, fuck, I better heal the masculine. But because I'd been in my masculine in this over-responsible state, and I hadn't been in my feminine energy, that's what I've been working on since this big fallout, because I was just like, wow, I need to fucking get out of this space, because one is not going to be able to receive. And as I just said before, right, I've been feeling, the past 5 months I've been feeling lonely, but it's alone. It's not like, oh, I'm lonely, I need something or someone, or I need, like, it's not that. I've just been noticing this space. And I really want to talk about this because, like, go into this a little bit deeper, because when we're talking about balancing masculine and feminine energies and really working on that within ourselves, because if you struggle to receive money, or especially money is a really good factor of sign for you, relationship, whatever it is, if you're struggling to receive, it's because you're too much in your masculine energy and you need to drop into your feminine. And people are like, well, how do I do that? And I'm like, well, have you been over responsible? Have you been in your go, 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 do the whole life, right? And it's interesting because I've also been noticing like this space, because I've created structures in my life to give me space. So as a single mum, and I forgot I wanted to say this bit too, so when Adea was little, when Adea was toddler, that was when I was most exhausted, most worn out, right? Because it's non-stop. You guys have got toddlers, you know, right? It is non-stop. And as they get a bit older, we tend to have a bit more space. Now, I filled that space with building my business, and I have been non-stop. And then I wondered, well, why am I doing all this work and then nothing's coming in, right? And this is where I had to really look at myself and go, oh, well, I don't stop. I'm in my masculine energy way too much. So I've had to shift that. Now, I had a relationship come in to show me exactly how much I was in my masculine, how much I was not in my feminine, right? Because when we have these out of balance masculine energies coming into our life, it is showing us where we are too much in, right? If we're, you know, like if we're too much in it, we're going to attract that, right? A masculine, out of balance masculine, because we're out of balance. So whatever you're attracting in your life is showing you what you need to heal, what you need to work on. And it's not that everyone is like perfectly healed. Remember, I've spoken about that. Okay, another important point is coming in. I need to share this bit. So when Adea was a toddler, it was the hardest time. Now for me, I was exhausted, and for the mums who are really exhausted with toddlers, things that I've learned that I wish someone had told me back then. Well, I know people told me this bit, but they grow up so fast, so enjoy it, right? And this is me sharing, and I know people told me that too, and I'm like, ugh, like, you know, it's the last thing you want to hear, but I'm like, man, she's 10 now, and I'm like, where the fuck did that time go? But enjoy those moments. Check your iron levels, okay? Because for me, being half raw vegan, half this, half, you know, for so long, and having a baby, threw out my iron levels. And I only discovered that probably 2 years ago, but the doctor didn't tell me I was anemic. I wish she did, because I would have taken it more seriously. And only in February, when I'm like fading away, like when my iron levels drop, and this is really important, I need to say this, when my iron levels drop, I feel like I'm fading away from the world. Like, it's literally how I feel. I'm fading away. I can't cope with anything. Energies feel like 50 times stronger because I'm like, it's the moon and it's all this shit. It's like my iron levels have dropped. I can't cope with life. Yeah? Get your iron levels checked. Eat meat. I don't care if you're vegetarian. Eat meat, right? I'm not saying eat lots of meat. I would eat like red meat. I would eat a piece of red steak when I'm bleeding, because I'm even losing more blood, okay? If you're exhausted most of the time and you haven't gone and checked your iron levels, go and find out about it, yeah? B vitamins too. Yeah, it's so important. If you are a single mum, or even a mum like who's exhausted all the time, check your damn iron levels and do something about it. Yeah, if you don't fix that, the iron is what grounds us to earth, right? The center or core of our earth is iron. It's an iron ball. That's at the core. It's a grounding thing. Like gravity works on the iron, right? If you're fading away and you're ungrounded, check your iron levels. It's in our blood for a reason. It's the core of our self, our earth, right? Reflection. Magnesium, yeah, all of that, yeah? Check those out, okay? And then the other thing is that I remember when Adea was toddler, and, well, two things actually. So I had a few mum mentors around me, I guess you could say, who have very successful businesses now too. But when Adea was toddler, their kids were about 10, right? So about what Adea is now. And I remember I used to look at them and go, oh my God, how do they do it all? How do they, you know, how do they have their business? How do they do all that, right? And I realized that when they had kids Adea's age, they were also doing that. So I really want to point that out. If you're looking at, say, me or other people and going, oh my God, how do they have their business and have their shit together? Just check how old their kids are, because they may not have, you know, their kids might be older, okay? And if they do have young kids, they might have other help. They might have a husband, they might have partners, they might have nannies, right? Just check that out, because then you don't feel so like, what's wrong with me, right? The other important point that I want to point out too is that the only thing that I could manage to do to keep myself sane back then, when Adea was like 18 months, like a toddler, right? The most thing that I could cope with to keep myself sane, like, you know how people like go to the gym and do this and do all these things to make yourself feel better, and you're like, I just can't even get out of bed in the morning, right? Like with a toddler. The thing that got me through most of the days back then, and the only self-care that I was doing, because that's all I could manage, right, was wasn't for a long period of time, but it got me through probably a hard point in time, was I'd get up at 6 o'clock in the morning, I would jump in the shower straight away, I would do my hair and my makeup and get dressed all nice, and that was myself. I could cope with the day if I was in that state. If I got out of bed and I dragged myself around and I'm still in my pajamas at 9 o'clock, I'm just like, I feel shit. But if I got out of bed, I had a shower, I did my hair and my makeup, I could handle the day. That was all I could manage, right? So I really wanted to share those really important points, okay, about that, yeah? This is like, for whatever reason, I needed to share that stuff. Exhaustion of being anemic. Yeah, well, it wasn't, I'm sure I've done more damage to my body because of that not knowing and stuff, yeah? Yeah, magnesium, iron, all of that. Yeah, you've been blaming yourself about the exhaustion. Yeah, just like, you know, and when, as I say, it's like 4 adults to 1 child is how we're supposed to raise. That's why tribes, yeah, we used to live in tribes, or some people still do, and they have this. Usually it's kind of the other way around, it's reversed at the moment, so it wouldn't be so hard on yourself. I hit a commonality in this group, yeah. Never tell no one, I opened the business, always talking shit like nothing good enough. Yeah, and it's so weird, isn't it? It's kind of like, wow, I'm like doing these things and all you say is like that I should, you know, especially my family in the early stages, they're like, just get a job and, you know, like all this stuff. And I just stopped talking to them about anything because I was like, you know, it was like, yes, it was hard. And with me telling them how hard it was, I guess that was their only way. And this is where I'm not saying they're bad, they're wrong, you hate them. Like, I'm not saying that. Their response was they didn't know any other way to support me other than say, we'll get a job, because in the mainstream consciousness, that's all they know what to do, right? So yeah. Time to let the soul family in instead. Yes, definitely. And I do have that, you know, like these days I have my personal assistant coming to my house, Ali. She's a gem. She helps me around the house. She helps me the day. She helps me with my dogs. She helps me do amazing things that I wouldn't be able to do. And I've always dreamed of having someone just to help me with the house stuff and, you know, errands and that sort of thing. It can take me 4 hours to do errands, and now I can just get her to do it for me, and it saves me so much time. You know, but that's stuff that I've also been working to create, these structures in my life. As I said, I've been really working on the masculine in myself and like handing over jobs. You know, you want to talk about being more in your feminine energy. It's kind of like, well, what can you hand over? And if you're in a position where you can't pay someone to do that now, it's kind of like, well, in 5 years' time, how do you want to be living? That's your goal. That's where you're working towards. So how can you manage now working towards that goal? Yeah? Yep. Yeah, hearing that, Alina, as well. You're so welcome. Is it Nalina? Is that how you say your name? Are you new to my page? Hi, because I haven't seen you before or seen your name. Anyway, let me just see what these comments are. It's a bit hard with the sun. I have to tell my mum to stop saying good boy to my son when he cooperates after he's been doing what he wants instead. Yes. Yeah, that was always a big thing too, saying that sort of stuff for me. Same shit, yeah. It's about the journey, Chose to leave home around that time. Yeah, same with you. Yeah, you guys got kicked out as well. It's full on, right? I wish for all to just live the life they want. Seems like so many people in fear of being alone, they pick very inauthentic lives. Fake, I'd rather be crazy and happy and alone. Kissing up to a man for some false sense of security. Yeah, and it's interesting, right? I've noticed this, and this is not a judgment, because I actually work with a lot of women about these sort of situations. And, you know, like, it's everyone's much to muchness, and please know I'm not having a go at anyone. It's just these are just my feelings over time, like, you know, of going through everything here. I'm just going to quickly rush through these comments to see. Yeah, I enjoy being alone. Yeah, and that's the thing, like, I know now whoever's going to come into my space now, you know, and this is where I feel like I've been like preparing for it, is like very picky. And this is, you know, when my ex said that, I'm like, no, I just don't want, you know, it's not like I'm just going to go to anyone just because I don't, you know, I'm not going to do that anymore. Like, I used to do that, and I used to do it unconsciously without even realize that I was doing it. Now that I realize it, I'm like, wow, I'm not just going to let anybody into my field anymore. And that's not out of like pushing people away, or like, it's not that. It's actually being really clear about my boundaries and my values and what I will let in my life and not let in my life, right? Been through enough domestic violence to just go, actually, it's okay to have boundaries, like, hello. And then when I get told that that's not okay, I'm like, actually, go away, please go away, right? Being a parent is the most important job in the world. Yeah, chose not to undertake it, but I admire those who do. Yes. Yeah, it's so interesting, isn't it? About the woman working. And that's the other thing too that I want to say too, like, you know, like a lot of men these days feel like they don't have a purpose, because, you know, like there are a lot of working women these days, you know, like compared to how it used to be. Like men have lost their purpose. And again, I also work with a lot of women clients like this too, that it's you know, like men can, I don't know, like there's so many different scenarios, but basically on a collective level, men used to be the hunters and the gatherers and the protectors, and that job is not there anymore. Women go out and work, women provide for themselves. So men are kind of like, on a collective level, men are like, what do we do? Do you know what I mean? And that's why there are a lot of men around like they are, because they don't have their collective purpose anymore. And this is where we're shifting collective consciousness and having that deeper understanding for that on a collective level as well. And being able to come into this space. So like, well, how do you be with a man who actually feels emasculated because of the working woman, you know, like, and all of that, and then working through and like coming into balance within ourselves around that. There is ways to be in your feminine energy and still run an empire at the same time, right? Oh, you've been following me for a while, Nalina. I just haven't seen you before. So welcome. Well, maybe you have commented and I haven't seen you, but I'm recognizing you now, so hi. You have all men working for you now. Yep, awesome. Yes, there's a Nalina and a Nalina. Yes, too. You've had enough shit. Yeah. My live just dropped out. Okay, it's still there. Alright, do you guys have any questions about anything that I've just shared? And I've been talking for a while, but I feel like I needed to share all that for some reason. You also ask a single friend to help. Yes. Yes. Yeah, on your 21-day shifting program. You have energy, yes, all the time on my 21-day shifter program. Yeah, I can see in my energy field. That's what happens, guys. You step into my energy field, you shift. Yeah, awesome. Thanks, Alina. Yeah, it's just so interesting, right? And this is where I say, you know, like where I was saying, like, animals fill a gap. And then if we look at, you know, like this space that I've been creating, and obviously like I've known that Panda was going, you know, since he got diagnosed in February, I'm like, I knew it was only a matter of time. And so I've been, I guess, creating more space to spend with him too, but also realizing this space and actually being in the space and feeling alone, but it's actually not alone. It's actually like, oh, I've got space in my life for the first time in ages, like in a sense, like being a single mom, and it's go, 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 and there's like no stopping, and it's relentless. It's like, oh my God. And then, you know, like building a business in that other space as well. And now like my business has got its own structure and space where I can actually create space to just be, you know, like there's so many times building my business and being a single mom that, you know, like I do all the household stuff, like this is before Ali started working for me, do all the household stuff, and then it's like 3-4 in the afternoon and I'd sit down to work until midnight, and I'll be like, there's been times like, I guess in the last little bits of it that I was like, oh, this is when people sit down and enjoy dinner and watch TV and whatever, like, you know, and I'm like, and now I'm sitting down to work for another like 8-9 hours, right? It's so interesting. When the men failed to show up, I think it changed something. I needed to hear this. Yeah, thank you for sharing that, because that was the other thing that I've realized, right? And this is where I think it was like, why are these men not, you know, like they'll say something and they're not showing up and they're not like following through with their word and all of that. And I noticed in myself, I was like, well, what is that reflecting, you know, in me? Where am I not showing up? Where am I not showing, where am I not balanced, or whatever it is, right? And I realized, you know, in the, you know how I said there was a period of time where I was like, unconsciously filling that hole with a man, like, and I didn't realize I was doing, and then I started realizing, and I was just like, well, fuck, like, you know, and I've kind of stepped back to really, because it was almost like they weren't taking responsibility for their life. So I'd attract these men that were also alcoholics, that were also like still living with their parents, or still living with their mom, and I was just like, wow, what the fuck is, like, because I'm in this masculine energy and needing to like fix, or needing to like, you know, be with, like, it was like I was taking care of them, but that was my over responsibility part from when I was a kid, and needing, you know, and looking after my siblings, and, you know, like bathing them and all that sort of shit. It was like that was still going on. I hadn't stepped out of that role. I hadn't stepped out of that energy within myself. And so with losing Panda yesterday, it made me realize that I was just like, oh, like, here's healing the masculine on a deeper level, like releasing that role again and coming into that, because I had a lot of like men not following through their word, or they said they were going to marry me, or like we're going to move in together, and it never fucking happened. And I'm like, well, I thought you just said, and then like they'll make up some story, and I'm like, well, why would you say that if you're not, you know what I mean? So it was just like time and time again, and the story would change, and I'm like, what the fuck, man? And this is where, after the last shit that happened end of last year, if you guys have been following me, I said to myself, I'm like, you know, and I'd actually said it before I met him too, for whatever reason it came in. Maybe it was a test, maybe it was like the last bit to actually go, Hannah, how bad do you want this, right? And it was in this sense of coming into really allowing myself to go, well, I don't want to meet anybody until I've got my life sorted, because I realized my attracting men that were not taking responsibility for their life or their emotions or whatever the story was, and then turning around and blaming it all on me, using everything I'd said in like open heart D&M space, throwing it back in my face. I was like, why does this keep happening? And then realizing that the things that irritated me in them, like what they were doing irritated me, was because I wasn't doing that in my life. So, you know, now, and that's why I just like, you know, really focusing on my business and getting that stabilized, and really coming into a place of, well, actually, you know, like need new furniture, or need, you know, like a proper house, like, you know, just like those sorts of things that are a very masculine thing that seem a lot easier if you're in a relationship with somebody. Now, I don't think I was consciously doing that for that. I wanted a partner to build a life with, so perhaps that was that, not even realizing. But now I'm like, well, actually, I don't want to be with somebody doing that, because I always get let down. So I was like, well, if I stabilize that in my own life and stabilize my own self, then I will also attract somebody who is also stable, rather than all this instability, right, that keeps showing up in my relationships. So as I've been working on this in my life, I've been noticing that even more people in my life have dropped off. And it's like when we talk about this space, yeah, and it gets this space, and I was like, as I said, it's like I've actually been noticing space, and I'm like, oh, I actually got space, you know. And you're looking at attracting a relationship, and even like for the women who are trying to fall pregnant, and they're like busy, masculine, go, and I'm like, or wanting a relationship, and they're busy building their empires. I'm like, is there even space for a relationship to come in? You need space for whatever you're trying to bring in, right? So it's been really working on that within myself, and actually saying no to other things that are not that yet, yeah? We have come into the relationships fixed on both ends. I'm in the same spot with women. Okay, yeah. I'm in the step back phase, like no, stay away, actually scared to engage, as I notice so much come up that I need to work on. Yeah. And it's interesting, right? So when can't have kids because you have to do business. Yeah, exactly, right? And it's kind of like creating this space. Like if you're trying to manifest something, you're trying to bring something in, it's kind of like, is there space for it to come in? Like, is there a container structure enough, right? Whether that's a business structure, whether it's house, whether it's whatever it is that stable, right? I always say the masculine holds, right? It's like the walls of the house, and then the internal is like the feminine, the moving. Like, is there that structure that holds what you're trying to bring in? Yeah, is there a container for it? Is there space? Because if there isn't, then just put all your focus into doing what you're doing currently. And then, you know, work, it's the same thing. When I said, you know, like in 5 years time, where do you want to be? So you're doing this right now so that you're creating space for the 5 years, and it doesn't have to take that long, but you've got that in your mind of why you're 100% just focusing on this, to then create space to then, you know, move through your life like that. And you feel like you need it to build the way, you don't need to work. Yes, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Before you get pregnant, it's like creating stability in your life, right? It's like creating this stability, you know, like in this sense. And maybe that's part of growing up, I don't know. But I know that in myself as a single mum, it's been a journey to get to this understanding and raise my daughter on my own. Like, I'm grateful, as I said, to be able to have the space to raise her how I've wanted to. But I also know that there's definitely been times, especially in the early times, just looking at other, you know, when you go to mums groups or whatever, and, you know, like the mums are like supported by the husband who goes to work, and I'm just like, fuck, man, like total different life that I've never experienced. And I've never been the like, oh, I need to get married so the man supports me, like financially. Like, that's never been there consciously, I guess. Perhaps I'm owning that, maybe. But it's definitely been like, you know, because, you know, I've also had a day as dad, you know, in the early stages to turn around and say, well, you brought this on yourself and you're the one that left and you could have had it all and everything. And I'm just like, oh yeah, that's why I'm doing this on my own. Like, do you know what I mean? So it's just like, it's like the grass is always greener, right? That thing. So yeah, that women have it so easy. But yeah, when you say that, it's kind of like, but actually what's the level of connection in their relationship do they actually have? And, you know, some people are really happy with their relationship and the way that it works, and, you know, like, and that's, everyone's different on their own level. Like, some women are happy with a, you know, what would appear to me very disconnected, but to them is very connected, and that's what they need in relationship. Do you know what I mean? So everyone's very different in what level of connection they need to create a stable relationship and what that actually means to them, because everybody has different values in life, everybody has different things. And I think that was the biggest thing with my ex, my long-term ex, over this period of time. You know, like, he even admitted not long ago that he said, you know, when we were first together, I had very chauvinistic views, you know, like the woman was supposed to stay home and here I am building a business. And I was like, well, no fucking wonder it didn't work. Like, you know what I mean? I was like, I need to be supported in my business and, you know, my life purpose and what I'm here to do. And if, you know, if there's any slight little not that moving forward, not interested at all. Yeah, you hate listening to others. Yeah, that's why we don't, right? That's why we don't. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and that's why there's no judgment, you know, like, I'm purely just sharing my own thing, you know. Like, I could have chosen to stay with a day as dad, but I know that I probably, maybe I would have grown, maybe I would not, maybe I would not be where I am today, maybe I would, like, who knows, right? And it's kind of like, how do we come into peace with the reflections of the shadows that we've got in our life to be able to evolve to a level of consciousness where we get to that peace? Like, at the end of the day, isn't that what it's all about? Doesn't matter what the outer reflection looks like. It depends where that level of peace and consciousness is around how you're relating to other people and what you need in relationship and what you're actually receiving from yourself to balance that relationship. Yeah, because all relationships come back to itself. Yeah, if there's something you're needing in relationship, you can always voice it. Whether those needs get met or not, it's kind of none of your business. It's up to you to meet them if that person doesn't. Yeah, follow our hearts. Find it hard to be around some of those mums because I pick up they're just in a relationship unconsciously and are so shut down. I noticed at my son's first playgroup. Yeah, I stopped going to a lot of groups because I just didn't, again, it was the inauthenticness stuff, and, you know, again, like, that's just their relationship and they're happy in that, and they're, you know, they don't do this spiritual work, and that's where they're at, and that's okay. It's just, who am I choosing to be around? I didn't want to be around that. Like, that was pretty clear for me, so I stopped going to a lot of those groups. And decided to build this because I've got bigger dreams of where I want to be in 5 and 10 years time. Well, just bigger to what I'm doing now, and it didn't suit me to continue being around those people when I could also feel judgments. And I also found out that they were backstabbing me again. So I'm just like, you know what, just go. We need to walk side by side. Who is this Dan Richardson guy on my live stream? Who are you? I don't know you. That's why all women are so jealous, even our own mums. Yeah, I don't know that my mum is. I think my mum personally holds a lot of guilt because she knows, and I know that we had a big kind of DNM for the first time, like, I think, gosh, it'd be nearly 2 years ago, and because there was all this miscommunication and like just, and she thought that I just hated her, and when I share stuff about my family on live stream and vlogs, they fucking hate it because they think that I'm ripping shit into them. I'm like, this is just what I fucking experienced growing up, you know, like I left and then everything got better for everyone, like, funnily enough, like, what does that mean, you know? But it's not having a dig, it's just like, well, this is what I've experienced, and you know, and then it dropped into like what I understood was feeling guilty because it wasn't better, you know, and then because I'm living a single mum life, she didn't want that for me either, and I can tell that my family don't want me to be a single mum because, you know, as same with that mainstream view, you know, like the rest of my family are pretty much all married with kids and all gone to uni and all that sort of shit, so it's kind of like, well, you know, well, not my immediate family, cousins and all that sort of things, it's all like, they're all perfect, and what the fuck are you still doing, Hannah? Like, yep, anyway. And that's fine, they just don't understand because I also like left home nearly 16 years ago now, so they don't really know me and I don't really know them still, so it's not linear. My sense of fulfillment is not so many others, like it's not as many as others, is that what you mean? It's definitely not linear for sure. Yeah, I know. Get to know him better. Yeah, who is this Dan Richardson? Oh, you're from Montana, okay. Montana, Hannah Montana. All right. Okay, guys, thanks for listening. I feel like that's all messages that wanted to come out today. And I'm probably gonna almost want to go home and get my surfboard and come back down and go surfing. You got a divorce 10 years ago. Yeah. Been single 10 years ago. No, my choices are not others' choices. Yes, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Like, we live different lives. Like, just because we're not choosing what they have doesn't mean that it's wrong. But apparently, you know, and maybe it's just because they don't understand. And I do say that. I do teach that to my students and my clients. It's like, you know, people say those things literally just because they do not understand. And they don't, like, I guess it's like just that way of communicating too, from that mainstream perspective. They don't know how to communicate any other way. They want to help, but they don't know how to as well. So that kind of way of communicating is also their norm. They don't know how to, you know, like raising a dare on my own, learning aware parenting, learning non-violent communication, doing all the personal development growth that I have. I've learned to communicate and understand energy and feelings in a different way. And even when I do speak to them in ways that are hearing their feelings, they tell me to stop like talking this crazy talk, and why are you talking that way? Like, it's weird to them. So anyway, that's why I talk to you guys, right? That's why I build my tribe and build my empire. All right, guys, so if you really want tools to help you through all of this, Trust Your Intuition was born because of me kind of like, you know, taking on other people's stuff and trying to implement things that weren't right for me. And Trust Your Intuition was born to trust my intuition over anyone's influence, over anyone's point of view, and get knocked over and, you know, carried away and all this sort of shit. It's kind of like Trust Your Intuition was born so that I could literally trust my intuition, understand the depth of energy, where that's coming from, where these layers start pulling out from when I'm healing things within myself, right? Trust Your Intuition is your key to being able to decipher and dig deep into the subconscious to pull all this stuff out, right? Now, I know that I shared that I was doing that in the shower, but those processes that I was doing in the shower now become normal, because in Trust Your Intuition, I also teach how to make it normal in your everyday life, so that when something triggers you, like it did for me last night, we are able to drop down into those layers without going, oh shit, I need to do this meditation, I need to do this. It just becomes normal how we process. And when we learn how to process like that, our intuition stays clear. We become aware of more things. We're not clouded by other people's judgments. We stay on the path of our life purpose. Yeah? So trust intuition is only open for another like 18, no, it's been more than 18 hours, 24, about 36 hours, guys. Okay, so tomorrow night, Australian Eastern Standard Time, so it'd be like Thursday, if you're on the other side of the world, and there's a 12-month extended payment plan that's only available like once the doors close tomorrow night, the doors close tomorrow night, yeah? I'm not sure if I'll be reopening it again this year. It could be next year because I've got some things starting to filter through about what I'm actually doing in my business. So I think Trust Intuition, the way that it opens is actually going to change. So if you want to get in, now is the time to get in. You can send me a message for the link, or I'm going to pop the link in the comments right now as well. If I can find it in here. Oh, that's right, because it was in the other one. So, but you can send me a message about it as well. But this is where my tribe is, where I've really created this depth of connection, community, people who really get it. Yeah, like this was really born as well because of not having friends, family around me who got it. You know, Trust Intuition was born when I was actually moving away from those mums groups, from moving away from working for anybody else but myself, because I was being influenced in ways that I wasn't feeling supported, and I was just like, you know what, I need to remove myself from everything and everyone and then just literally do my own thing. And Trust Intuition was born from that. Yes, exactly. People want to lie when confronted. And if you haven't seen my live stream on picking up other people's subconscious stuff done, you can send me a message and I can share that with you, because that was something that I really became aware of. And this live stream that I will share, if you want to watch it, if you haven't seen it, really taps into what actually happens in those moments, right? Because it's literally like people want to lie when confronted, but they don't even realize they are lying. Because you've picked up, as empaths, as intuitive people, healers, whatever you want to call yourself, we pick up stuff that they're not even conscious of. So when we say something, it triggers them and they lie because they're not even conscious of it. Like, they are not even conscious of it. And that can be really confusing. It can create fights, it can create arguments, it can create stuff because they are triggered in a way that they're not even conscious that does that. Do you know what I mean? It can be really confusing. All right, just turn this down. I need to share this link. Okay, got it. It's happening. So yeah, so send me a message if you'd like to watch that live stream, and for anyone else who hasn't watched that before too. And I've just put the link in for Trust Intuition. All the details on there. You can send me a message if you've got questions about it, because it really is like literally all the things that when I started building online and people asked me all these questions about spirituality, every single thing that you need to know to trust intuition is in that course. Every single bit of spirituality stuff that, you know, you ever kind of wondering how to get traumas out and wondering how to be with people when you're picking up the depth of subconscious stuff that you do. How do you be around people like that? How do you be around normal mainstream people when you know that they're not even conscious of the stuff and you're feeling all their subconscious shit? How do you even have a conversation without them being triggered or throwing it back in your face, right? And this, as what I'm talking about in that live stream, like that came, you know, from me like creating Trust Intuition and then going, like conversation after conversation after like triggering people and not even realizing, like I wasn't doing it on purpose. I was literally just talking to them in my intuitive like flow, just being Hannah, who I am. And all of a sudden I didn't even realize most of the time that I was picking up their subconscious shit. So then I'd start talking, and then after, like, I don't know, it was probably like there's 3 main pivotal points that I was just like, oh shit, this is what's happening. I'm like, right. I'm like, okay. And then I've like learned how to like be around it without triggering them in a way, right? Of course people get triggered, but you know, just knowing that I'm picking up their subconscious stuff, and do I say something or do I not, or you know, and just what happens in that space, because when we just hold that space it also shifts, but it can shift 2 ways as well. So anyway, if you want any more information about that live stream or Trust Intuition, like I said, the link for Trust Intuition there, you can send me a private message. Thanks for joining me live, guys. I've loved sharing here, sharing my heart again. Like I said, I've been a bit nervous to share the depths of what goes on. I used to do it all the time, and then after my experience at the end of last year and just having it thrown back in my face in many ways more than one, it's, what are we now, May, and I'm only just starting to feel comfortable, come out and talk about it again. So talk about the depths of my heart and talk about who I am. So yeah, we always say what people are thinking about. Yes. Yep. Oh, I was just about to say that. Yeah, because we'll pick it up, right? All right, love you guys, heaps. Have a beautiful day. Namaste.